Tracy, you're muted.
Yes, and I'm not able to see my
Okay, you're unmuted now.
All right, thank you. Let us pray. God our Father, we give you thanks, for you are good, and your mercies endure forever. As we gather virtually today to contemplate the future in the context of the connections forged in the past, we ask that
Tracy,
as we
you're
discuss
muted.
measures for deepening those connections, yes, and I'm not able to see my transformation within
Okay,
my
you're
Commonwealth,
unmuted.
we may generate ideas which, when implemented, will assist in taking Jamaica safely through the challenges of the present and into that brighter future to which we all aspire. These mercies we ask through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Ms. Cohen. So for our Commonwealth Day 2021, our theme says, delivering a common future, connecting, innovating, and transforming. At this time, we'll be having a video by the Commonwealth, a family. Please tune in. this video was brought to you by the Houses of Parliament or Library Department. And at this time, we will be inviting our Clerk to the Houses acting, Ms. Valerie Curtis, to do the welcome at this time.
Good morning, everybody, and happy Commonwealth Day 2021, and happy International Women's Day 2021. Representatives, Honorable Robert Morgan, MP, Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Dr. Sophia Longmore, President of the Jamaica Psychiatric Association, Senator Gabriel Morris, Opposition Spokesperson on Youth and Sports, other parliamentarians that are online or may join us later, Miss Citrina Atkins, Managing Director, Gertie's Agro Produce, Mr. Gordon Swaby, Chief Executive Officer of EduFocal Limited, staff members of the Houses of Parliament, representatives from the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, representatives from youth organizations, members of the media, other persons joining online. Welcome to the Houses of Parliament Commonwealth Day Virtual Forum. The Jamaica adage, turn your hand, make fashion, comes to mind today as we use a non-traditional way to commemorate Commonwealth Day 2021. Using this virtual platform is allowing us to connect safely across large distances. As a branch of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, the Jamaican Parliament is pleased to celebrate Commonwealth Day, a day dedicated to highlighting the special relationships that 54 countries in the Commonwealth of Nations share. This year's theme, delivering a common future, connecting, innovating, and transforming, speaks to the need for the citizens of the 54 nations of the Commonwealth to, 1, connect, that is to work together. 2, innovate, that is to confront the issues that are peculiar to the 21st century in new and different ways. And 3, transform, which is to improve all areas of life for all our citizens. Today, we are asking you, especially our young people, to think about how Jamaica, along with our Commonwealth partners, can confront the issues arising from the COVID-19 pandemic. This Commonwealth Day Virtual Forum will give young men and women the opportunity to explore the theme in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, and for you to determine for yourselves how best to improve your lives. Our panelists today of mental health, education, finance and food safety and security. I look forward to the discussion. Everyone to pay keen attention and participate fully. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you, Dr. Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Curtis. Welcome, 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 everyone. At this time, we will be having greetings by the Honorable Marissa Dalrymple Philibert, and she's the Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Thank you. Fellow parliamentarians, Ms. Curtis, Acting Clerk to the Houses and staff of Clerk to the Houses and the staff of the Houses of and other distinguished guests, members of the media. I bring you greetings from the members of the Senate and wish for you all a good morning on behalf of the members of the Senate and the House of Representatives. This year's theme, as Ms. Curtis mentioned, delivering a common future, connecting, innovating, and transforming. To achieve transformation, it is important that we cooperate with each other and collaborate with each other. The Commonwealth of Nations continues to be an effective association because of the work of the many agencies that focus on different areas of life in the Commonwealth. This morning, I want to share with you a little about an organization of which the Jamaican Parliament is an active and proud member, the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. The Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, the CPA, is an organization committed to supporting and promoting democracy and good governance throughout the 54 members of the Commonwealth. The CPA is an association of more than 180 parliaments and legislatures at the national and state or provincial level. More than 17,000 parliamentarians are members of this association. The CPA provides an avenue for all member countries and parliamentarians to have an equal voice, regardless of the size of their country, the income of the country, the race, the religion, or gender. In fact, an arm of the CPA is the Commonwealth Women's Parliamentarians, the CWP, which seeks to promote greater participation by women in all our parliaments. And this morning, I want to pause to wish all my sisters a great and meaningful International Women's Day. Our very own Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Honorable Kamina Johnson, in wishing her sisters Happy Women's Day, chose a charge for us. And she said, choose challenge. And women, I endorse the charge by our minister, choose challenge. By participating in CPA events, parliamentarians across the Commonwealth have an opportunity to share their experiences, share their strengths, or indeed, our shortcomings, in order that we can create an effective and efficient parliament, which will in turn mean good governance for the people of the Commonwealth. In addition to conferences, the CPA has developed programs to provide training for parliamentarians and parliamentary staff to equip them with in-depth and practical knowledge based on good international practices of parliamentary democracy. This cooperation, demonstrated by the members of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association and other Commonwealth organizations, is a fine example for us today as we seek to deliver a connective, innovative, and a transformed society. I want to thank you very much for the opportunity of bringing greetings this morning. And again, I want to end with the very powerful words of our own Minister of Foreign Affairs. Women, we must choose challenge. Do not shy away from it. Have a wonderful day. And I regret that I have other commitments that does not permit me to stay with you. Have a great day and thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Minister Dalrymple Philibert. As we have heard the charge, choose a challenge. God bless you and have a wonderful day. At this time, we will be having Her Majesty Commonwealth Day message, and this will be a video by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
Over the coming week, as we celebrate the friendship, spirit of unity, and achievements of the Commonwealth, we have an opportunity to reflect on a time like no other. Whilst experiences of the last year have been different across the Commonwealth, stirring examples of courage, commitment, and selfless dedication to duty have been demonstrated in every Commonwealth nation and territory, notably by those working on the front line who have been delivering healthcare and other public services in their communities. We have also taken encouragement from remarkable advances in developing new vaccines and treatments. The testing times experienced by so many have led to a deeper appreciation of the mutual support and spiritual sustenance we enjoy by being connected to others. The need to maintain greater physical distance or to live and work largely in isolation has, for many people across the Commonwealth, been an unusual experience. In our everyday lives, we have had to become more accustomed to connecting and communicating via innovative technology, which has been new to some of us, with conversations and communal gatherings, including Commonwealth meetings, conducted online, enabling people to stay in touch with friends, family, colleagues, and counterparts who they have not been able to meet in person. Increasingly, we have found ourselves able to enjoy such communication, as it offers an immediacy that transcends boundaries or division, helping any sense of distance to disappear. We have all continued to appreciate the support, breadth of experiences, and knowledge that working together brings. And I hope we shall maintain this renewed sense of closeness and community. Looking forward, relationships with others across the Commonwealth will remain important as we strive to deliver a common future that is sustainable and more secure, so that the nations and neighbourhoods in which we live, wherever they are located, become healthier and happier places for us all.
Okay. All right, so that was the Queen's message, and it spoke expressly about the theme, connecting, innovating, and transforming. At this time, we'll be having the Prime Minister's Commonwealth Day message, and this will be done by a video from the Most Honorable Andrew Holness.
Today, 54 countries of varying sizes, demographics, and economies across the world observe Commonwealth Day. This year's theme, Delivering a Common Future, Connecting, Innovating, and Transforming, is most appropriate as we mark just a little over a year since the onslaught of COVID-19. As a result of the pandemic, we have called on our people to take extraordinary measures to protect themselves. Our healthcare and essential workers have shown tremendous courage in the face of this deadly disease, and sacrifices have been made all around. The pandemic has also forced us to truly innovate and transform, particularly in how we stay connected as we battle a common enemy. Fortunately, vaccines have been developed, and we can now see a clear path out of this difficult period. Approximately 2.4 billion citizens of the Commonwealth will virtually celebrate Commonwealth Day, and in so doing, we reaffirm our common goals and shared commitment to the core values of democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. The Commonwealth is a testament to inclusiveness, understanding, and respect for all peoples. Even as we individually seek to overcome these challenging times which direct our attention inwards, the Commonwealth provides a community of friendship and mutual interest within which we can build partnerships, share experiences and practices, and connect, innovate, and transform together. This year, Commonwealth Day falls on International Women's Day. And there is no doubt that we continue to actively prioritize gender equality. In our general elections last year, a record number of women entered political representation. Jamaica's parliament has more women now than at any other time in our history. We have taken tangible steps to recruit and promote women out of the recognition that women are innovators and leaders in all areas of national life. A shared concern among the Commonwealth community is climate change and environmental protection. Jamaica continues to do our part, raising our voices on these issues. In fact, we announced a national tree planting campaign as part of a bigger mission to safeguard our natural environment. The National Tree Planting Campaign, which was recently relaunched, has adopted the theme, Plant a Tree, Protect Jamaica, Preserve the Planet. We encourage all Jamaicans to get on board and do their part wherever they are in this national effort. As part of our campaign to preserve our planet, we also announced a ban on single-use plastics and continue to streamline our developmental ambitions with that of the security of our environment. I'm pleased to observe Commonwealth Day. The very fact that we can do this in this globally challenging time shows our resilience and determination to recover stronger than before. This Commonwealth Day, let us celebrate in partnership, solidarity, and optimism. I wish for all our fellow Commonwealth countries a happy Commonwealth Day, and importantly, a happy International Women's Day.
That's right. Even though we're far apart, we're still connecting. And if you're just joining us, we want to welcome you once more. Welcome to our Commonwealth Day virtual forum. Coming up, we'll be having a discussion with about 4 to 5 panelists. You want to stay tuned for that. And at this time, we'll be having the leader of the opposition's Commonwealth Day message by a video from Mr. Mark Golding.
I am delighted to join fellow citizens of Commonwealth countries across the world as we celebrate Commonwealth Day 2021. This year's theme, Delivering a Common Future, Connecting, Innovating and Transforming, is timely and consistent with the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association's emphasis. As an association of 54 member states, comprising some 2.4 billion citizens, the Commonwealth makes up close to 1/3 of the world's population. It is incumbent on this influential grouping to harness the power of our collective voice to advocate for a brighter future for current populations and generations to come. Over the last several months, our world has been tested severely. Our interconnected and globalized community shares goods, services, and opportunities. But as the COVID-19 pandemic has so painfully demonstrated, it also shares hardships, injustices, and challenges. Our youth have been very affected by this pandemic, with many suffering severe negative impacts on their education, their social activities, and even their mental health. Through it all, young people have remained at the forefront of movements in pursuit of climate action, racial justice, social security, equality, and more. They are not simply the leaders of tomorrow, they are leading today. As elected representatives of the people, we must commit to ensuring that young people always have a seat at the table and that their voices are heard. Here in Jamaica, the parliamentary opposition is prioritizing their needs and perspectives through the Youth Shadow Cabinet that we are establishing in collaboration with the youth and young professional organizations of the party I lead. Over the last year, we have witnessed the importance of community in facing the sternest of challenges. I thank the Commonwealth community for your emphasis on strengthening our union of states and enabling the pursuit of progressive agendas across governments and societies around the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Golin. Young people are leading. We're leading the charge for today and for the future. Also, when it is that you have the time, you can go on our Commonwealth Parliamentary Association website and you can check out messages from the CPA chairperson and the Secretary General. At this time, we'll be having our discussion. We want to welcome our panelists. Before we do that, we want to tell you to share with your family, share with your friends. We are streaming live on PBCJ YouTube. They can join in on the discussion that we're having today. It's all about what is happening in today's world, the pandemic. How are we coping? How are we dealing with the challenges that we are faced with today? So for our panelists today, we have Honorable Robert Morgan, MP, also State Minister in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. We also have Senator Dr. Safar Longmore. She's the President of the Jamaica Psychiatric Association. Also, we have Senator Gabriela Morris, Opposition spokesperson on the youth, and she's also the youngest parliamentarian. We have Ms. Trina Atkins. She's from Tertiary, Agro-Produce, and she's also a recipient of the Prime Minister's Youth Award for Excellence. And also we have Mr. Gordon Swaby. He is the CEO of EduFocal. Welcome, 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 panelists. Amen. You can unmute your mics.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome, welcome.
Morning, everybody.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Okay. All right. So if there are any other young persons, you can start preparing your questions. If it is that you have any question for our panelists this morning, but we'll be starting with Minister Robert Morgan. Throwing the first question at you. How do young people continue their education during this time?
Well, it's a very challenging time. As most of us are aware, we are now in a pandemic, and that has exacerbated or made worse a lot of the challenges that we have had over the last many decades in our education system. For just a slight background, we're currently at the end of our education transformation process that started a while back, and we're starting a new one through the Education Commission that was announced by the Prime Minister. But the reality of it is that many of our young people have been, to some extent, disconnected from the education system, whether it be intermittently or whether it be consistently. Our lack of internet penetration has made virtual learning for some persons challenging. Socioeconomic challenges have made it hard for others to access educational services. What we have tried to do over the last year, and the 10th of March would be 1 year since our first COVID case, so it's about a year now to be exact, is that the government has decided to spend a lot of money trying to give young people access to technology, access to the internet. But it is not enough. We know that it is not enough, which is why one of the initiatives that we have started is a national broadband initiative where we're going to try to put broadband access firstly to all schools and to most communities, especially in rural areas. And I think those who are most challenged in this environment are those in rural areas. But my hope and my guidance to young people is to not give up. We have put in place policies where if you don't have a tablet or you can't afford a tablet and you're not on path, you can sign up for the Own Your Own Device. We still have a lot of tablets there available. If you do not have access to a tablet, you can also get the learning kits from the school. You can go to the school and collect the learning kits. There's still virtual learning take place. Before this current spike, we had face-to-face with about half of our schools were approved for face-to-face, about 400 and odd. And now we have put in place a system where only those who are doing exit exams will engage in face-to-face. So we have created a myriad of opportunities for young people to continue their education. But the reality is that there's a lot to be done. And post-COVID, that's where a lot of the hard work is going to have to take place in terms of remedial education, in terms of helping those who did not have the opportunity to catch up. And the ministry is working really hard in setting up a remedial education approach to intervene, not just from an academic level, but also from a psychosocial level to a lot of our young people. We're doing a lot of psychosocial work now through the guidance councils and through the schools, but there's still more to be done, and we're working hard every day trying to formulate and change as the circumstances change, the procedures and the programs to assist our young people. So my charge to them, my advice to them is that there are opportunities out there. There are ways that you can get help if you need the help. If it is a technology issue, if it is an inability to access internet or so on. For example, I was in a meeting the other day and a parent complained to me that they don't have any data.
Yes.
Their child keeps running off the data on the tablet. And I said to them, but there is no charge for data to access the government's learning platform. Yeah. And I think a lot of parents have to try and educate themselves as well, because we have created a system where the learning platform, the Google platform that we use, you do not use data. You have to have a data plan on your phone, but none of that data will be used. So if your child comes to you and says that the system is using off their data, then you need to look into that carefully. Because what we've tried to do is spend a lot of money, and we have even partnered with Edifocal, which Gordon Swaby is head of, and private sector have also come on board to see how we can give our children, as many of them, access to the information as possible, especially in a period where many of them are disconnected from the formal education system. So my guidance is do not give up. Help is there, seek it out. There are numerous avenues. Speak to your principals, speak to your teachers to see how we can help you to continue your education.
Thank you, Minister Morgan. So there's help there. Persons just need to check out the information and ask all the right questions. All right, Dr. Longmore.
Yes, hi. Good morning, everyone. Happy International Women's Day.
Good morning. Can you just quickly introduce yourselves to us?
Well, Senator Dr. Sapphire Longmore, consultant psychiatrist and government senator.
Okay. All right. So my question to you, what actions can young people take to preserve and improve their mental health and well-being?
Well, the challenges that especially young persons, not just young in mind or young in thought, but the age group that is affected, I think, significantly by this pandemic is especially the age group of teenagers and young adults. Unfortunately, you know, it strikes at that core because psychologically, this group of individuals or this part of the population is naturally going through what we call identity versus confusion. That is the psychological, the actual, what you call Erickson's psychological stage that they are going through at this time, where young people tend to naturally, in growth and development, tend to seek out their identity. It is a time of exploration. It is a time of experimentation. And normally what usually obtains is that balance is required. Your teenage years are a time where anything that is indulgent, anything that you overindulge in can actually have a negative effect. If you overindulge in food, if you overindulge in sports, if you overindulge in academics even, it requires balance. It's a time for balance. It's a time for self-discovery. And so with this pandemic, a lot of young persons are having significant challenge because they're not able to do what is natural and develop and explore all these avenues that would be the norm. And so it requires, I think, a lot of guidance from their parents and a lot of protective measures to safely engage in some of the things that they would normally do. Of course, the primary role at this time is to seek out education and career planning. So without a doubt, that is at the forefront of the list of objectives. And I'm glad that Minister Morgan demonstrated how we are trying to help that continuity. But it is critical for the mental health of the individual for them to be as organized and as structured as they possibly can now. You know, one of the things that schools and institutions tend to offer is a system that is structured, a system that has some discipline to it. And so a young child or an individual goes in there, they're part of a routine. And without that systematic approach now, a lot of individuals can feel lost. So I significantly suggest and recommend for young persons to establish a routine for themselves. And this routine, academically focused, should also include other things that will help go through this time. And that would be physical exercise. Schedule some exercise. It helps to deal with the stress. It helps to boost the immune system. And it just helps you to feel better, especially when you're dealing with all sorts of stresses coming at you. Of course, dealing with issues that may affect you emotionally, interpersonal conflicts, interpersonal issues. Communicate. If you have an issue with something or with someone, seek out advice, seek out help in a way that can be useful and productive. Of course, you also want to still try to socialize safely.
Definitely.
Socialize safely. Use technology to enhance your socialization. You know, it's called social media for a reason. And unfortunately, what was kind of happening is that people tend to be insulated and isolated. And now we need to realize that these mechanisms are tools with which we can actually socialize and get to know individuals from a distance, but still make a connection. So I actually also lecture medical students, and what I try to do with them, because when we're doing the clinical experience, which requires patient interaction, I significantly encourage them to connect with each other directly through virtual platforms and practice their clinical skills. And likewise, the same thing can be applied in schools, et cetera, where, you know, small groups can break out and still socialize over the virtual platforms and still help each other along with being the lonely times and the down times which we all experience and can be hard for everyone to deal with. And lastly, schedule some connection with your spirituality. You know, it is a part of our human tendency to still want to connect, and we're not able, some of us are still not able to attend church, etc., but we're still seeking, and especially at this time during the pandemic when so much uncertainty exists, unfortunately, we're all hearing of persons passing away. It is a really, can be a very stressful time. Seek the quiet time, you know, engage in some meditation, engage in some yoga, and just kind of share that experience with those who you might think may need or appreciate it. So, you know, it's about balance, and it's about still remaining positive. And lastly, I cannot not mention immune boosting and making sure you're taking in your vitamins and you're getting sunshine and actually keeping active and keeping positive in mind. It helps on all dimensions.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Longmore. All right, so we need to create a balance, have a structure. exercise, connect with other persons, even though we're far apart, but we're still connected. Thank you very much. Mr. Gordon Swaby.
Hi.
Good morning. Can you quickly introduce yourselves to us?
Morning, everybody. Morning, everybody. Happy Commonwealth Day. Happy Commonwealth Day. Happy International Women's Day. Honored to be here speaking with my fellow speakers, fellow panelists. So I'm Gordon Swaby, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of EduFocal Limited. We're an online learning platform for students.
Okay, thank you. All right, so my question to you is, how do we foster and encourage youth innovation in this time?
I think now more than ever, we have to get innovative. We have to think outside the box. When I think about myself, for example, I started EduFocal at 21 years old. I'm now 30. So that was next week, Monday, we actually celebrate 9 years in business. Nice. And I started the company because thank you, Senator. I started the company because I hated school. I hated school. I loved entrepreneurship. And it's a long story that I'll keep short. But for me, I think with what is happening in the world now, it is easy to believe that this is the end and it is all over. But in some way, I'm a student of history, right? And I always reflect on how hard it must have been to be somebody living in World War I and World War II. Certainly, the circumstances back then were far worse than now. There was no internet, for one, and I'm still fascinated by things that we take for granted now. We're on a video call. There are a number of us on this video call. We're seeing each other. We're hearing each other very clearly. And for me, I use the internet as a medium to facilitate innovation. Now, the weird thing about innovation is that when you're doing it, it doesn't feel like innovation, right? It just feels like a thing that you're doing. But when I think about EduFocal, we've had hundreds of thousands of kids use our platform over the last 9 years. When I started out, nobody was using it. In fact, people used to always say to me, Gordon, how's your project coming along? Speaking to me in very condescending tones. But here we are 9 years later, 30 full-time staff later, and just tremendous growth over the last couple of years. I think that it is important that we not box ourselves in, not to be, demotivated or just, So, and here's the thing. So Senator Longmore made some very great points. And I learned a lot from what she was saying earlier, developing our routine, helping our peers. All those things are important things. And human beings are by nature social creatures, right? Even introverts still need people. So for me, I think it is important to not box ourselves in. It is important that we talk to our peers, hear what is happening around us. I think it was Senator Crawford yesterday who posted, he made a series of tweets talking about an application that a friend of his was working on, which was essentially trying to manage traffic flow in different locations across the island. I thought it was a very good idea. The thing about it too is that it is important that we not, it is important who we talk to, I found, right? You'll go to somebody with your idea and they'll say, no, why would you want to do this? Again, using myself as an example, many people told me that EduFocal would not work. Many people told me that it was a waste of time, but here we are, very, very close to a junior stock exchange listing, right? When we started this company, when I started the company 9 years ago, I used to always talk about this idea of an IPO, and people, I believed it, but I didn't believe it, right? Things start to become real as you start to experience it, and sometimes you'll sit down and you're like, wow, is this really happening? So it is important that we're careful about who we share ideas with. Reading is extremely important, and that's actually going to be my last point about this. Read as widely as possible. There's so much information out there. I mentioned on Twitter last night that we're now shifting away from the age of information and now into the age of curation, because there's so much information out there. You have to kind of sift through everything and figure out what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, what is real, what is fake, and developing that skill set, developing research skills are things that will allow you to connect the dots, because that's how innovation works, right? It's seeing one thing here, another thing there, and being able to connect the dots and creating solutions for people. So I hope that this is useful, and I mean, I'm honored to be on the panel, and I'm hoping to share as much knowledge as possible with everybody here.
Points. Thank you. It was just the same thing I was saying yesterday, that reading is fundamental. You know, you have to read and be able, you know, how to dissect the information that you have. So reading is a must. All right, Miss Citrina Atkins.
Hello, morning.
Good morning. Quickly introduce yourselves to us.
Hi, everyone. I must express my gratitude in being here, you know, to be a part of this discussion. Agriculture is very important, and I'm happy to share whatever I can going forward. I'm Citrina Atkins, of course, co-founder of Gertie's Agri-Produce. We are a rurally based farm enterprise located in the community of Newhall, Manchester. We started in 2018, so we are just over 2.5 years now, and we've been doing a lot in the community in terms of, you know, improving quality of life and to get more young persons involved in farming, because it is really important that young persons, you know, identify the opportunities in the agriculture sector and take advantage of them.
Okay, great. And that just brings me to my question. How is it that we can increase youth interest in agriculture? How is it that we can get them more involved?
Well, first of all, it has to do with the mindset. You know, we need to change the mindset of agriculture. And, you know, even last night I was thinking that maybe we can even change the terminologies that we use. Instead of saying, oh, you know, I'm a farmer and I'm in a farming business. No, you can even say agribusiness or agri-enterprise. You know, these are the things that young persons kind of gravitate more towards. You have to pretty it up so that young persons, yes, so that young persons are more attracted to it, make it attractive. Also, I remember back at UWI when Gordon Swaby came to share his story with us in the Young Investors Club. And it was a very inspiring story, you know, and that kind of contributed to my entrepreneurship journey. So us as young farmers who are already in the sector, we need to go out and share our stories and inspire these other young persons to get involved in the sector.
Awesome. All right, so we know that we're actually in a pandemic. What are your thoughts on the whole food security for Jamaica?
Well, food security is very important, and I think we're more than capable of, you know, providing, you know, food for our citizens and also have excess, you know, for exporting and so on. With food security, you have to think about food safety also. Farmers need to ensure that they are following the chemical guidelines. Persons are now more attracted to organic food, so we need more campaigns to you know, ensure that farmers are educated on these kind of stuff, the use of chemicals and so on. And yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Atkins. And I noticed that all the panelists on this, you know, each person is connecting because one thing leads to another. All right, Miss Senator Gabriela Morris. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me, and good morning to everyone who is joining us and to the other panelists. It's such an inspiration to hear from you guys as young people in the space, excelling in what you do and encouraging other persons. I think this is my second time with Citrina on a panel, and it's always such a pleasure to hear her speak so passionately about her agriculture involvement. And, you know, I said it when we were on Dion Jackson Miller's program that, you know, she's inspired me to dabble in the farming a little bit. So I'm still working on that situation.
Awesome.
What happens this year, but it's good to be here.
Awesome. We're glad to have you. All right. So my question to you is, what avenues are available for youth to continue education during this period?
Okay, so, I think Minister Morgan would have highlighted some of the challenges within the education sector. And as a tertiary student myself, somebody who is still going through the struggles and the rigors, I know it firsthand, and I know how hard it is for many of our students across the country to navigate, especially during this difficult period. And one of the things that, I think is important to point out is that while we move towards creating opportunities, it's important for us to consider the overall welfare of our students. And I'm glad that Senator Longmore, who is always so passionate about mental health, really mentioned that aspect of it, because in reality, a lot of our students are at home and they're struggling. They have to be contending with not having fees, with, being at home in a space that might not be totally comfortable, being at home, probably faced with instances of abuse. And so there's so many challenges that our students are experiencing even outside of the classroom. So it's really a situation there that we have to take into hand. And I'm so happy to hear that the minister, has been considering the things that we need to do to support our students during this time. Specifically for tertiary education, I do have a burning, really a soft spot, because I'm a tertiary student myself, and I know how expensive it can get. I know how challenging it can get. And so one of the things that I think is important is for us to consider increased support for tertiary students during this time. I know that with UWI, there has been some cuts in the number of scholarships available. I heard that the budget will now include some increased funding for tertiary students, and I'm happy to hear that. But that is definitely one of the things that I think we really have to place emphasis on and really challenge and seek to mitigate. But how can students really continue with their education? I think that, having a conversation such as this about the Commonwealth and about the opportunities that are available for partnership with education, because I think that through partnerships that we're going to be able to move our education system forward. And so it's not what we can just do as a country, but it's about also partnering with our neighbors here in the Caribbean and in the Commonwealth in general to see how we can adopt some of their principles, to see in what ways they can support our education system here, so that our students can move forward despite the challenges that they're facing. I know that one of the things that the university has been calling for is increased enrollment of international students as a way of offsetting costs that are currently becoming very burdensome on the system. And so I really believe that a partnership such as the Commonwealth will be crucial in facilitating this process, in increasing enrollment and thus increasing revenue. So I'm happy that we are in this space, engaging on the matter of partnerships and how that can contribute to us moving forward. But overall, I believe that we understand the implications, we understand the challenges, and what I would like to say is that it really requires a unified effort. It's to me, this is an issue that is non-political, because we have to ensure that our people are educated and equipped, regardless of who is in power, regardless of your political, affiliation. And so I'm always happy to work with the minister and work with those who are in the ministry to see how we can move forward and how we can ensure that our young people are equipped.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Ms. Morrison. All right, so I want to quickly open up the forum a bit more. So if there are persons in our Zoom room that you have a question that you'd like to ask any of our panelists, you can go ahead, whether you want to use the raise hand feature or you want to type the question. Is there anyone that would like to ask any question? Our panelists are here, live and direct. All right, so in the meantime, I want to just throw out this question. Anybody can, any one of the panelists can take opportunities. How can persons, what you say now, make the best use of that? How can they access, because we know what the workspace is like now, persons are losing their jobs and things like that, what it is that, or ideas that they can take on for entrepreneurial opportunities, sorry.
I mean, I guess I could take a shot at that.
Okay, go ahead.
So I think a lot of things that, so, you know, there's this thing about creating a habit within 30 days, right? Certainly a lot of us have created new habits since COVID. March 10th would make a year.
Yeah.
With the anniversary of the pandemic, or at least since the first case was announced in Jamaica. And we've had more than 30 days to develop new habits. I think that a lot of things will stay with us. Some of the habits that we've developed will stay with us, and these are potential business opportunities. So for example, a lot of people will be working from home going forward. I think that a potential entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial opportunity is creating products for people who work from home, whether it's you know, curated lunch. So like, for example, for me, I hate trying to think about my lunch on a daily basis, or products that are geared specifically for the home office. You know, so that's an example. And I mean, again, I'm just thinking about these things off the top of my head, right?
Yeah.
I think that another opportunity is, I think courier services are, you know, certainly before COVID and after COVID is going to be huge. Going to business places on behalf of other people is going to be huge, and that can be very niche, right? So renewing their motor vehicle fitness stuff, because a lot of people don't want to go on the road, right? And again, I think these things will continue after COVID. People have gotten used to working from home. I think that, yeah, I'll just comment that again. A lot of ideas. Maybe I should just do a blog post on it, because I do love to share, and I certainly would love to see more young people become entrepreneurs. And Citrina, I don't remember that at all, but thank you. I've spoken to so many young people over the years, and for me, I became an entrepreneur because, you know, other entrepreneurs shared with me, and it sounded like this very cool thing. I hope I communicated very accurately what entrepreneurship was about, because I'm not keen on selling people something that is not reality, and certainly entrepreneurship is extremely hard, right? I'd never give the impression to anybody that it is easy. It is hard, but I'm happy that I played even a small part in you considering farming, and I'm a future farmer myself, so definitely I'm going to be talking to you soon, you know, regarding sharing some tips with me for my own farm, because I do love farming. I'm from Manchester, so thank you.
Okay, Gordon. Definitely your story was very inspiring to me, and not just to me, but also my friends. Even to this day, you know, we still talk about it. So thank you for that.
Miss Wilkinson, if I may just add to the conversation here.
Go ahead.
I think one of the critical things too is that the COVID, this whole pandemic experience has allowed us time. We find that we have a bit more time on our hands.
Yeah.
And even though I suggested and I recommend that we use the virtual platforms to enhance our interactions, it is also a time that you can develop ideas that you had in the back of your mind somewhere, a little passion note, a little thing that you probably just always wanted to explore and to expand, but you never had the time. And now is the time for us to really kind of introspect and recognize that maybe there's a little idea there that could be fostered and that could be propagated. And you know, I congratulate both Gordon and Citrina for the propelling, especially that youth. And I wouldn't even want to definitely limit it to entrepreneurship. It's more what I call self-actualization, because I think they both have at a young age charted out something that they're passionate about, and they say if you do a work, what is it, if you spend your time at work in your passion, it's no longer work, it is what you that you can flourish in. Yeah. And agriculture, I personally cannot emphasize enough the potential for agriculture and what it could mean for Jamaicans and for young persons in Jamaica. There is huge scope, huge potential. It is literally an unlimited market for what could happen when you tap into agro processing and developing external markets to Jamaica. And I would definitely encourage that type of thinking. Gordon, I know you're one of those who you said you left school to pursue your passion. Not everybody is that fortunate to be able to hit the mark when they leave. So by all means, remember now that completing the course also can lead to success. So it's not just about following the passion, but you also have to be very grounded, I think. And I would just significantly encourage that time. Use the time to truly introspect and explore what you may have a passion about, and go for it.
Absolutely, Senator. And I just wanted to add a point. And I say this all the time, and it sounds very easy, right? But what I'm quickly realizing is that what is becoming a source of competitive advantage is the ability to focus for extended periods of time. And what I mean by that is if you're doing a task and you can say, focus on that task for an hour or 2 hours, most people get distracted so easily these days because there's so many distractions around us, right? And again, in a country with extremely low productivity levels, you are ahead of a lot of others by just being able to focus and get a task done. And that compounds. Compounding is such a beautiful thing, whether in money or skill set or your ability to get work done. The more you focus on something, the better you get at it. And again, I've been focusing on EduFocal exclusively for 9 years. And certainly I'm now seeing how it has compounded and how I've benefited from it, right? A lot of people would not have stayed the course for 9 years. In fact, actually, in reality, it has been longer than 9 years because I started working on EduFocal in 2011, right? So I've literally spent a decade of my life focusing on one thing. And I'm not saying that it was guaranteed to work. It could have failed, right? But certainly, the ability to focus on certain things long term can have compounding benefits. And don't be like me and drop out of university if it is a part of what you want to accomplish. 2 years into my undergrad, undergraduate degree at UTech, I decided to leave. But I'd never encouraged anybody to drop out of university. I'd never encouraged anybody to not go. Certainly, if it is a part of your plan, then do it. But don't just go because you think it is a good thing to do and you're checking the box of university. I think that you must have a mission, you must have a purpose, you must have your philosophy in life. And that will be your guiding light, your North Star in all of the decision making that you want. And as easy as it sounds, a lot of people don't know what they want to do with their life. And that causes a lot of chaos and confusion. So it's important that you know what you want to do.
Okay, awesome. All right. Maria has a question.
Oh, yes. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I was trying to type in. Okay. This question is specifically, I believe, Minister Robert Morgan, if he's still there. I listened to. Okay, sir. I listened to your presentation, and I'm really happy and commending the government for initiating the things that have been in place now to help our youth stay connected, especially for our high schoolers or probably primary school and the lower level. But one other thing that what I observed, and I wanted to find out if it is that you can elaborate. Most of what in terms of the internet connection or even getting a device, this is specifically getting a device. it has to be on the ministry website, correct? They would have to go onto the ministry website to be able to obtain one of those devices.
You have to
One
sign
of
up
the
online.
right, that is a challenge for a lot of persons that I have observed, even in my community. My question is there another way for persons to be able to obtain other than being online or going online to do it? Is there another avenue?
All right, so let me elaborate. So it's not just the Own Your Own Device program that is there. When we started out, we decided to give part students at a particular level devices, those who are doing exams. So that's one. There have also been thousands of devices donated by private individuals to schools. So that's two. There's also a thing called where the private sector has come on board and donated devices. That's three. We've just finished the procurement for laptops for high school students. I think we distributed like 15,000 already. So that's four. So it's not just one avenue that people get devices. What we did with the Own Your Own Devices is that every MP got about, let me see if I can remember exactly, don't quote me, but they got a couple hundred application forms for those who do not want or are unable to access the device online. And the sad thing about the Own Your Own Device program is that even myself as an MP, I only had about 30 people coming to sign up, and we advertised it widely. So currently the ministry has still kept open the Own Your Own Device program, right? But we still have thousands of devices that nobody seems to want to sign up for. What I realize, however, is not just an issue of people not being able to access the internet, because a majority of persons do have a cell phone or access to a cell phone. So that is one issue. But the other issue is that I find a lot of the times the devices, a lot of the part student devices sat at the schools and the parents did not come and collect them. So the issue is not just about what the government can do or what the government should be doing. The issue is also about how to educate our population to be more aggressive in seeking out the opportunities that are there for their children. Because a big part of our challenge has always been, how do we get parents and children to come to collect the learning kits, to log on to the virtual learning, to come and collect the part devices from the school, to sign up online, because we have to have an accountability framework. So we won't be able to just go out there and give out devices, because we have to demonstrate to the Auditor General that we are doing it in a proper way that is accountable, where you can track where every single device went and that it was given to somebody in need. So even though it is a challenge in terms of some people not having consistent access to the internet, I do not know if I can be fair and say in 2021 that if somebody really wanted to access something online to sign up for it, we have libraries. You can borrow somebody's cell phone. You can go to one of our CAP sites that exist. There are tons of ways that you can go to your member of parliament's office. There's one in every constituency, and they are willing to sign you up because there is no restriction in terms of the amount of people to sign up. There's a restriction in the amount of devices that we have. But even now, we still have thousands of devices that no one has signed up for.
Okay. All right. Kamara, I hope that kind of answers a part of your question or all of it. And probably that was a bit clearer for you. All right, there's a question in
Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. There's a question from Saron French, Miss Morris. It says, Miss Morris spoke about funding for tertiary students. How will the funding be accessible? Are there websites? to students like myself, and when are we supposed to look out for it, especially students pursuing business majors?
Thanks for that. So, Saran, I wasn't speaking specifically to funding for specific students, but just funding that goes towards the university in general to offset costs. However, regarding funding such scholarships and bursaries, I do know that a few of them are still available. The other day, I saw some on scholarships JA, so you can search for that online. So there are a few that are available. Additionally, I do know that at tertiary institutions, there is the financial assistance program for students, regardless of your major. So you can reach out to your student representatives to see how you can benefit from those programs. But what I was really speaking to is, increased support, financial support for university students. And one of the things that I've been doing, as a young person, as a youth leader, as a parliamentarian, is to invite persons to contribute to tertiary students. So we have been doing that program to invite persons from corporate Jamaica to come in and contribute in some way. And so we're hoping that some students can benefit from that, that program.
Okay, awesome. All right, there are two questions from you, Billing. One is for Dr. Longmore and one is for Ms. Atkins. All right, so Dr. Longmore, I'll read yours first. It says, in terms of mental well-being for students, there are many without friends or reliable persons for conversations. Are there forums or points of contact that students can connect with for help?
Well, one of the things that I would definitely suggest is as I mentioned, that kind of introspection and development of self and self-interest. And I know that can be challenging at times, but it's somewhat what we have to kind of push ourselves towards in terms of, and it's not necessarily being technologically inclined. So I also encourage families to be doing more board games and to be doing more family oriented stuff. And that would definitely help a teenager or a young adult get through some of these lonely times. But specifically with respect to students requiring that level of aid, some schools, their guidance counselors have set up forums where they can probably interact virtually. You also have systems set up through like the faith-based organization, churches, et cetera, where you can join in online or you can request counseling services through those institutions. There's also a Ministry of Health, mental health and or suicide helpline, which is 1888 New Life, which is you just punch out New Life, and that connects you to a toll-free hotline that can engage you with a counselor, et cetera. But I go back to saying that, it's almost like we all, and especially as young adults, you kind of realize that you kind of have to grow up a little bit quicker than you probably would have. Pull up yourself by the bootstraps, develop your techniques for survival, and just know that this will pass. As I think it was Gordon who referred to, when persons historically had to deal with global issues of this nature and never had the resources that we have. So we kind of have to dig deep too and recognize that, think positive and project positive and seek positive, and that may carry you through the rougher times. But yes, definitely seek help if necessary. 1888 New Life is the Ministry of Health's hotline for mental health and our suicidal issues.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Longmore. Ms. Atkins, the question is, how can someone become a part of your program to learn about agriculture in Jamaica?
Well, I don't have a program going. However, JAMPRO has a wealth of information on Jamaica agribusiness landscape. so you can reach out to them and they'll basically tell you everything you need to know about Jamaica agriculture, the crop profile of the popular crops that is grown in the island. And also you can reach out to RADA or the Jamaica 4-H, which is the arm of government that is responsible for youth in agriculture. There's also a agriculture roadmap that can be downloaded from the 4-H website. It basically gives information in terms of access to finance, access to land, and so on, agriculture in Jamaica. So just reach out to those places and they'll provide you with the necessary information. Sorry.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Ms. Atkins. All right, there's a question from Dane Egler. Dane?
Thank you, Ms. Wilkinson. Top of the morning to everyone.
Good morning.
I was listening.
Is it possible for you to turn on your camera?
Turn on my camera.
Yes.
All right. I'm sorry if my background is not so beautiful. I'm at school at the moment.
Okay.
I'm sorry if you hear the background noise. I was listening to everybody. I was listening to Minister Morgan. If you see in the chat, I'm the national president for GP. I'm involved in so many things in my community, my school. And it's the first time I would have been hearing JP, Jamaica Prefects Association. And I'm involved in municipal corporation and all of those things. And it's the first time I would have heard that the member of parliament would have been distributing devices. So that was good to know that there was another avenue. I was listening to the question.
That's not what I said. I'm sorry. That's not what I said. I'm sorry to cut in. I never said
devices were allocated.
Parliament were distributing devices. What I said was
it was allocated to them.
Hold on. Listen first.
They received forms so that persons could go to their members of parliament's office to sign up. This was publicized. So I never said they were distributing devices. I said they got the forms for persons who could not access the internet.
Oh, well, my apologies for that, Minister Morgan. So they would have received forms to fill out and whatever. But my question is the Own Your Own Device initiative, because, and I had to really ask this question because I attend Rossi's in Hanover, and there are a lot of parents who would have said that they have reached out to various persons to try and get help, the MP and whoever, and they would have received none, hence they turned to the Own Your Own Device initiative. Why I'm asking is because I went on the portal to help somebody myself, and I realized that why it posed a big challenge was that it required something known as a student registration number, something of that sort. I would want you to tell me if it's possible for you to tell me, how does it really work to get a student registration number? Because when I asked my principal for my school, she says the school wouldn't have signed up with ministry to get the student registration number. When I had further dialogue with a youth empowerment officer at Ministry of Education, they told me that the school would need to make some arrangement with the ministry to get it. So I don't know if that is the specific problem that Kamaria had, but I know that's a very big problem because a lot of the parents that I'm hearing that their children would not have been able to get a device is that their schools don't have a student registration number. So how would you approach getting a student registration number?
So that is one of the challenges that we've faced. And so every child above grade 1 should have a student registration number. It is actually how the government is able to track the progress of that child through the system. And the schools are supposed to assign a student registration number to every child. Now, if you notice on the Own Your Own Device portal, you will see toll-free numbers, right? That says, let me look at it and tell you right now. If you go on the educate.gov.jm site, and you will see Own Your Own Device application. Let me find it. Just give me a second. right? So on the thing, it says parents or guardian must have a registration, TRN, must have an annual income of less than 500,000, must have a valid student registration number, and only one application allowed per household. When you are applying and you click on to the application, there is a section there that gives you, if you have any issues, a toll-free number to call, or you can send an email if you don't have access to a telephone. So what we've tried to do is we've tried to make it not necessarily easy, but try to make it reasonable that persons can have access. But we do understand that there are challenges, which is why we put the toll-free numbers there so that persons who may have challenges can work. And what we have done is when persons call the toll-free number, we reach out to the schools and in many cases are able to work out the student registration number for the students who may not have been assigned one. I'm not saying that the system is perfect, but what I'm saying is that there is the ability within the system for those who have challenges to get assistance. And notice it's a toll-free number, so it would not cause you to incur cost on your cellular telephone when you make the call. I don't know if I've answered your question appropriately.
Yes, you have. That's a big help. Thank you very much.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're glad that the panelists are able to answer these questions that have been long, out there in the open here. All right, so the final question that we're taking, Dr. Longmore, it's actually a question for you. It's a bit lengthy. It's from Shandona. Dr. Longmore, you're still here with us?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right, so it's here. All right, so the person is saying that you mentioned earlier in your presentation about the ERC's theory of development. You made specific mention of the stage of identity and role confusion, which is really finding oneself. With the limitation of this stage from the pandemic now, how does these limitations affect this stage, and how important is it to maximize this stage? And how do you suggest we minimize the impact of the pandemic on these developmental stages? It's a bit lengthy. I hope that you caught the question.
Yes, well, it speaks to, as I mentioned, the natural tendency for young people at this age to seek out how they want to be identified, identity seeking stage. And my suggestion is what has been significantly affected is the freedom to fully explore seeking that balance. We have to become very innovative. We have to become very creative in how we still are able to engage in the aspects of interest that we may have. If let's say that you're someone who usually likes to engage in poetry, you could seek out common persons who are into poetry and explore a virtual group that still engage in stuff. If you are someone who usually likes to play football, you could singularly work on your football skills in a space that you may have and engage in companions who may be able to do a workout drill at the same time via a virtual platform. And so you develop that level of interaction while still maintaining your safety. I cannot underscore enough the importance of us making sure our bodies are equipped to deal with whatever challenges may come. And so that is why I still encourage us to maintain healthy nutrition and to immune boost with the vitamin C and the vitamin D and the zinc. And because that is how we are likely able to still pursue some of these interests that we may have safely. The next stage that goes after that, and this is why it is critical that we enable young persons to still be able to engage as best as they can, is that it is intimacy versus isolation, where persons forge relationships, etc., etc. And so we have to develop ways of still enabling that socialization process to happen, because at the end of the day, we are still human beings, we're still progressing, and we still have to satisfy these natural developmental stages. But yes, there are challenges, but there are solutions. And the fact is that what is good is that the mechanisms that are being spoken of to enhance education, the access to the tablets, the access to the online forum, you can still use those avenues to also develop your socialization, but in a virtual platform. So, you know, out of adversity can come opportunity. And I would suggest that as young individuals, we try to maximize on those opportunities that we would not have had if it were not for COVID.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Longmore. We're almost at the end. All right, so for our panelists, any final thoughts? Minister Morgan, any final thoughts, any comments?
So the reason sometimes I hesitate is when you contemplate the difficulties that a lot of our young people are going through, it's very challenging to digest. But the reality of it is that we are in a global pandemic. Yes. And the only way we're going to survive is if we all come together as a team, young people, older people, teachers, students, youth leaders. Because a virus is one of the few things in nature where the only way you can transmit it is through person-to-person contact. Yes. So our actions determine how successful we are. And I said at a function recently that if people want our kids to go back to school full face-to-face, then they have to observe the protocols, because the more COVID takes root in our societies, the longer it will take for us to have a normalization of education. So my suggestion and my advice is for us to just observe the protocols. If you don't have to go out, don't go out. Stay in small groups, wash, sanitize, and keep your distance. And I think if we all follow these protocols, then as time goes by, the incidents will reduce and we can start normalizing our society even before we get our vaccines.
Great. Thank you, Minister Morgan.
Yes.
Senator Gabriela Morris, any final thoughts?
Right. I just wanted to underscore the need for us to, display even more humanity now more than ever. As Minister said, a pandemic requires a concerted effort. And I believe that it's crucial for us in these moments to support each other in whatever way we can. Something that I wanted to just point out earlier is really the need for us to ensure that there's mentorship for our young people, especially in the areas of entrepreneurship and agriculture. It's important for young people to have persons who they can lean on for support and look to for advice and information. So I believe that that is becoming even more important now. But, in going forward and in trying to navigate, we have to ensure that we all play our part. So it requires governmental input, but it also requires personal responsibility from each and every Jamaican. And so we have to understand the impact of our actions, and we have to ensure that we do our part to ensure that we can move forward. And we create a future that our young persons would want to see, that we put in place systems from now and we support the measures from now so that we can move forward and build stronger for the future.
Most definitely. Thank you, Gabriela. Mr. Swaby?
I mean, change is slow, but not impossible. You know, we truly are going through a difficult time as a society, as a world. But I remain optimistic about our future generally, even outside of the pandemic. You know, whether it's crime and violence, whether it's the pandemic or anything else that we're plagued with as a society, climate change. I think all of these things can be solved. I think that collectively we are brilliant people. And you know, we've seen what can happen when we set our hearts and minds to accomplishing something. You know, and I am confident and I'm hopeful, and I'm excited about the future of Jamaica. Because you know, there's a life beyond COVID-19, there's life beyond this pandemic. And you know, I know that we will turn this around, turn the ship around, and you know, greatness is ahead of us.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Swaby. Citrina?
Well, you know, they say with every problem, there is an equal opportunity. So I encourage persons to look for the opportunity and not focus too much on the problem, so that we can all contribute to nation building and recover from this pandemic in the quickest way possible.
Awesome, thank you. Dr. Longmore?
Just underscoring probably a few of what was mentioned before. You know, out of adversity can come opportunity, and you're never too young to capitalize on such opportunities. So keep your eyes open. Really use the time to introspect and to pursue your passions. And remember that oftentimes when you think you are going through something really, really rough, somebody else is going through something maybe worse. And the best way at times to help yourself is to actually help someone else. And you'd be surprised at how that paying that forward could go a far way. Recognize that especially young people play a critical role in their family. And your family is your base unit. So if you see to the health of your family, the younger ones, the older ones, you yourself would benefit from that stability. So I encourage persons to know yourself and pursue who you truly want to be and seek the opportunities to maximize on that.
Thank you, Dr. Longmore. Each one help one. And I want to say a big thank you to all our panelists, for all the persons that asked questions as well. We thank you. It's our Commonwealth Day 2021, delivering a common future, connecting, innovating, and transforming. At this time, we'll be having our vote of thanks by Ms. Angelica Pattison. She's a research officer here at the Houses of Parliament.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Commonwealth Day and happy International Women's Day. Firstly, I want to broadly thank everyone who took the time out for this very informative meeting. I also want to particularly thank Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II for her message, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness and the Leader of Opposition, Mr. Mark Golding, for their message. Also, Ms. Valerie Curtis, Acting Clerk to the House, Ms. Tracy Cohen, Acting Deputy Clerk, and also members of the panel. These include Honorable Robert Morgan, Senator Dr. Sophia Longmore, Senator Gabriela Morris, Ms. Citrina Atkins, and also Mr. Gordon Swaby. I also want to further express thank you to Ms. Yannick Williams and the team from the Youth and Adolescent Policy Division of the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, Mrs. Julia Ayat and the International Organization Department of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade for being a very resourceful person. Also, a big thanks to the House of Parliament Commonwealth Committee and also members of the media. And thank you, Mrs. Wilkinson, for being a great host for this lovely meeting. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so we want to thank everyone again. Thank you for tuning in to our Commonwealth Day activities 2021. For those who are on Zoom and for those who tune in on PBCJ YouTube channel, we thank you. And we hope that everyone will continue to have a safe day. Remember to sanitize, remember to wear your mask, remember to continue practicing social distancing. So God bless you all. Have a wonderful day and an awesome rest of the week. And we'll see you guys next year for our Commonwealth Day 2022 Life is Spared. And we will be closing out with a video from the Commonwealth, and it's helping every voice to be heard. God bless you all.